Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hey, welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We are, pushing on through the COVID lockdown. Our studio is not open, so we're recording in our office. Got this cool mural behind here that a fellow named Rapizzi donated to us a little over a year ago. Makes a nice background, I think. But we have a great hemp news segment for you tonight. Other videos will be rolling in. And I want to first start off, as we always have, with our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, our first story tonight is from South Bend, Indiana. History of cannabis use is associated with an estimated 10% reduction in one's risk of developing cancer, including the risk of lung cancer, according to a meta-analysis published in the journal Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research. An Indiana University professor reviewed 34 studies assessing whether the use of cannabis was associated with either an elevated or a reduced risk of developing certain types of cancers. His review determined that cannabis use was negatively associated with the occurrence of various types of cancers, excluding testicular cancer. Use was most strongly correlated with a reduced risk of developing cancers of the head and neck. The study concluded, quote, "The current analysis suggests an association of cannabis use with a substantial decrease in risk of non-testicular cancers, with a moderate effect on size, and a non-significant increase in risk of testicular cancer with negligible side effects." This suggests that cannabis use may substantially decrease the death rate from cancer in the United States, end quote. This study, scoping review and meta-analysis, suggests that cannabis use may reduce cancer risk in the United States, appears in this month's issue of Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research. Back in Washington, members of Congress from Oregon have introduced a measure to give state legal cannabis businesses access to federal disaster relief programs. The proposal comes as wildfires ravage the West and are having a devastating impact on the cannabis industry. The efforts being led by Democratic Representative Peter DeFazio of Eugene, Representative Earl Blumenauer of Portland, and Oregon's Democratic Senators Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley. In a statement, Merkley said, quote, "Regardless of someone's stance on legal cannabis, we can all agree that families in all of our communities are struggling to keep the lights on and stay afloat during this turbulent time, and that they need and deserve support. That includes thousands of businesses, small business owners, workers, and their families who rely on state legal cannabis businesses for their livelihoods. We have to make sure those families won't be shut out from critical assistance that can make a real difference," end quote, Senator Merkley wrote. The Small Business Disaster Relief Equity Act would allow cannabis businesses to be eligible for disaster relief pursuant to any federal disaster declaration issued beginning January 1st, 2020, the congressman said in a joint release. The legislation would require the head of each individual agency to allow state legal cannabis businesses to apply for assistance retroactively. Congressman DeFazio said, quote, "It's ridiculous that affected cannabis businesses are being denied critical wildfire aid because outdated policies. Cannabis businesses employ thousands across Oregon and are a vital economic engine for our state. The important legislation will ensure that these businesses are eligible for the same aid as every other business impacted by the 2020 wildfires, end quote, DeFazio said. New study about women in cannabis, nearly 3 in 10 women, or 30%, have either used or currently using cannabis to manage menopause symptoms, according to data presented at the annual meeting of the North American Menopause Society. A team of investigators affiliated with the San Francisco VA Medical Center examined patterns of self-reported cannabis use for menopause symptoms in a sample of 232 female veterans with an average age of 56 years old. They reported, quote, current or ever use of cannabis for menopause symptoms management was reported by 27% of participants, while an additional 10% expressed interest in future use. In contrast, only 19% have reported traditional forms of menopause symptom management, including menopausal hormone therapy, end quote. Cannabis use was most commonly reported among women experiencing hot flashes and night sweats. Some respondents also complained of experiencing insomnia. While the therapeutic use of cannabis by veterans is not altogether uncommon, this study is among the first to highlight veterans' use of marijuana for this particular condition. Given cannabis's relatively high rate of use among the women in this cohort, scientists and others would be well advised to further explore its safety, efficacy, and prevalence among women experiencing menopause. Authors of the study concluded, quote, use of cannabis for menopause symptom management was common in this sample of midlife women veterans in Northern California, where marijuana use is legal. The findings highlight the importance of understanding the potential risks, benefits, and effectiveness of cannabis for this indication, end quote. An abstract of the study, Cannabis Use for Menopause Symptom Management Among Midlife Women Veterans, is available online from the North American Menopause Society. Looking at data coming up for the upcoming elections in New Jersey, they will be voting on legal marijuana, and 65% of likely voters say they will vote yes in favor of a marijuana legalization initiative, according to polling data commissioned by the law firm Brock Eckler LLC. The percentage is consistent with those of prior polls, including an August survey of likely voters, which showed 66% of respondents backed the legalization measure there in New Jersey. Overall, only 29% of New Jersey voters oppose the measure. The proposed ballot question reads, quote, do you approve amending the Constitution to legalize a controlled form of marijuana called cannabis? Only adults at least 21 years of age could use cannabis. The state commission created to oversee the state's medical cannabis program would also oversee the new personal use cannabis market. Cannabis products would be subject to the state sales tax. If authorized by the legislature, a municipality may pass a local ordinance to charge a local tax on cannabis products, end quote. State lawmakers in New Jersey in December voted to place the measure on the ballot when they failed to successfully advance an adult use legalization measure in the legislature. Most New Jersey voters agree that it's time to stop low-level marijuana arrests, regulate the commercial cannabis market, and drive necessary tax revenue to those communities hardest hit by the decades-long failure of criminal prohibition. Time and time again, state politicians have failed to amend the state's adult use laws. This November, New Jersey voters have the opportunity to take matters into their own hands and to usher in these necessary and long overdue reforms. New Jersey is one of 4 states where voters will decide on legalization initiatives this November, just 4 weeks away. Voters in Arizona, Montana, and South Dakota will decide on similar adult measures. Voters in Mississippi and South Dakota will vote on ballot proposals to medicalize marijuana use. Our last story tonight is from Montana. Montana activists behind a marijuana legalization initiative there are being backed by a uniquely Big Sky Country Coalition, environmental conservation groups. The state, widely known for its public lands and parks that attract tourists from across the world, would see a significant influx of revenue for environmental conservation programs from cannabis taxes if the legalization measure passes in November. Half of the public revenue from marijuana sales would be earmarked for conservation. Organized by the legalization campaign New Approach Montana and a New Public Lands Coalition, our PLC, it's comprised of 4 conservation organizations, including Montana Conservation Voters and the Montana Wildlife Federation. That is the end of our hemp news segment tonight. I want to remind our viewers that we do have a physician referral line. If you are a loved one, know anyone in the country from Hawaii to Maine and Alaska to Florida who need a doctor who can help you get a medical marijuana permit, then we have a referral service. Give us a call at 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. Stay tuned for more videos, and we hope you'll help restore hemp. I'd like to introduce Carlos Cervantes from 420 Guadalajara.
Yes, 420 Guadalajara.
Thank you for coming on the show, Carlos. I have had a great time at a lot of different events that you have organized, and it's great to have you on our show. So
Yes.
Tell us about 420 Guadalajara. When did it start?
We started in 2010, because sorry for my English, but a year ago, in 2009, we have a problem with the police to celebrate the 420 here in Guadalajara. So we started like a collective in 2010 because we did the first 420 in Guadalajara in April 20. So we have 10 years working on cannabis education, different topics, grow shops, how to grow, how to make the oil. Now we are professionalizing our activities to be a school of cannabis education in 420 Guadalajara. And 420 Guadalajara have many projects there. And I'm using 3 projects that I'm going to mention. It's CannaFest MX. It's a festival for users. Canna Medicos. It's a conference for health professionals, and the Jalisco Cannabis Cup.
Yeah, health.
Yes, that it's coming on November 14 here in Guadalajara. So if you want to come to know why it's happening here in Mexico, that we will have a law in a few months about the all, no, because it's a order of the Supreme Court of Mexico that we will have access to grow our own weed in home. You know,
They've been saying in the Mexico Supreme Court ordered about 2 years ago, right? That
yes, 2 years ago,
the people have a constitutional right of privacy and to have cannabis.
It's the lying 2 years.
The implementation has been
but
postponed
our friend activists in Mexico City are growing weed in the back door of the Senado. So we support it with a big tent, you know, to the people can sleep in the Senate and still growing the weed in the Senate, you know, and that's a big important political act here in Mexico. But now we have the COP. LB Musica is coming. I read about LB and have a really big history that we need to know about LB here. We don't know LB. It's the first time that it's coming with us to Guadalajara, but it will be a big honor to receive here LB Musica. And you, Paul, you are another judge, and the other guys that you know, but maybe the people from Oregon don't know, but it's Mexican guys that with history growing years here in the activists. So it's a very good panel in the judge. And you told me, Paul, what do you find here in the Mexican genetics? Well, the Mexican genetics and the weed growing by Mexicans. You know that we are
Yeah,
trying to get
definitely on.
there to have a national grade. You know, it's hard,
Yeah,
but we need to certificate in that.
yeah. Well, it was my great pleasure to come to the Jalisco Cup last year and be a judge then and test the cannabis flowers and concentrates and attend the squash off. That was a co-event that happened last year. It was in Mazatmitla, one of the magical pueblos or cities in Mexico last year. And the cannabis was top grade. I've seen over the few years I've been coming to Mexico annually at various events since 2016. It's been I've seen a dramatic improvement in the quality of Mexican cannabis, and I look forward to being a judge again this year. It was great to bring Elvie Masica with us. Elvie is a legend. I've known her since the 1980s. She's always wanting to come, especially when I go to Spanish-speaking countries. So I'm very excited that you wanted. Bill, our producer of this show, and I spent 3 weeks with Elvie traveling around Colombia
Wow.
in 2016. Elvie moved from Colombia at the age of 26 to the United States in 1966. And her trip with us was her first trip back to Colombia in 50 years. So she spent 3 weeks traveling with Bill and I and Clay Pierce and Mike Bafari and Chiri, Gaston Durana. We had two big vehicles and we went to Expo Mediweed in Colombia. Then we went to Toribio and the cannabis fields near Cali. Then we went to Copa
I
del
was
Rey
there
in
too.
Colombia.
I was
That's
there
where we
too.
met, was at Expo Mediweed there in
Yes.
Colombia, right?
Yes.
You didn't have a mustache then, but you looked younger. But anyway,
Thank you, Paul.
then we left Elvie with her family, and she stayed about another 6 weeks with her family that she hadn't seen in 50 years. So
Wow.
I paid for that trip. I paid for her flight and her hotel, and I paid for Clay to come and help take care of her. Our friend Clay decided he wanted to move to Colombia, so now he lives in Toribio. But then last year she wanted to go. I really can't afford this year. I had a much bigger business. You know the story. But I couldn't afford to pay. But Don Wertschafter paid for Elvie's trip to go to Colombia. He paid for her flights, and then we picked her up at the airport. She spent about a week at Expo Mediweed just after we left Jalisco Copa. Mike Bafari and I flew directly to Medellin and to the Expo Mediweed. And Elvie flew in from America, and we spent about a week with her there, and then put her on the plane to go to Bogota to meet her family there. And
Wow.
so she went on those two trips with us.
That
But I've known her since 1988, 1988, when she
that's
just started to become a medical marijuana patient.
yeah, that's a happy history. But I want to invite all the people who want to come to the Jalisco Cup to stay in touch with Paul Stanford because, well, the register it's used by invitation, you know, but all the people who make contact with Paul can register with us, you know. We will, follow us on the social networks, Dash, Jalisco, Cannabis Cup, that's it, dash JALISCOCANNACUP. Dash Jalisco Cannabis Cup. Yeah, and stay in touch with Paul Stanford.
So after meeting at Expo MediWeed, where we met first in 2016. I know we met a few more times at Expo Weed in Mexico City.
Yeah,
And
but we don't
that's
make
when you
contact in
invited
Mexico
me to start
City.
coming to Guadalajara.
Yes. Well, we started with this idea of the Jalisco Cup many years ago, and well, it's a big part of logistic team and inversion, and that's a big wall for us. Uh, get the sponsors, sell tickets because we are already, yes, it's an event, but the people don't see it already with good eyes, that event. So we are in low profile. It's used by invitation. And well, it's a very good, big
It's
party,
really
a cannabis
exciting.
party.
I can say it's at a pretty remarkable archaeological site. And so is that, I could safely say that, or is that something
Yeah, well, we
we
are
get
saying
it? But
we are saying
it's at a
there
beautiful
we are.
location. And it was at a beautiful location last year as well in Mazamitla.
Yes, we will be in a very big ranch, and we are making plans with another collectives here from Jalisco. Maybe, I don't know. We have time to plan a big tour from Jalisco. Each uh, taste of the samples of the cup. How I say sorry, Paul, but each taste can be in a different venue every day. So, first day we will be in Guadalajara. Maybe the second day we will be in another magic town, and maybe a third day we will be in another magic town. So, will be a big trip to Jalisco.
I don't think most Americans understand the concept of magic town. A magic town, there are like 18 or how many magic towns are there that the federal government says are historical, uh,
Cultural,
cultural.
cultural and beautiful towns
Yeah,
that
Mazzamila was incredible.
they want to preserve the towns like 200 years ago that founded many towns here on Jalisco and in all Mexico. They want to preserve that. And if the town preserve the essence of the
So I
foundation,
know in
can
Mazzamila,
have can have
it was
support from
one
the
of the
federal
best.
government, and it make it tourist places to visit. You know?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I guess, yeah, if somebody wants to contact me, then just call our office at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. I know one person's already got his airfare, friend of mine, and I know another person I know says they're going to get their airfare, and there might be more. So, uh, you know, we'll talk more. If you're interested, call us at 503-235-4606. Also, this is my plug that I do all the time, Carlos. We have a physician referral service. If you need help finding a doctor who can help you get a medical marijuana permit anywhere in the United States, we have doctors who can help you. You can call us at that same number, 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. So I always have to say that at least once in the show, Carlos.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Well, I want to talk more. I think, do you have time?
Yes, I had time. Don't worry.
So after we met in Medellin, in Colombia, then we met again in Mexico City. And then you first invited me to come for two big events. One was a lecture. You had a series of lectures that was in March of last year, 2019,
Yes.
at different campuses of the University of Guadalajara.
Yes.
And then you had the CannaFest Mexico as well. And this was your what was that? Your third Canifest Mexico?
Well,
Uh,
we did the third with you
yeah,
the last year ago in 2019, and this
yeah,
year we have to postpone it because the COVID.
yeah.
We
That's
and that's a
a
formal event with families, with doctors, with brands in a public place with
yeah. But
with the
Canifest
police.
Mexico
Yeah,
was
with the
really educational events. You had vendors, you had panels. Uh, it was an educational event in a very nice public park in Guadalajara.
Yes, and every year it's in a different public place in Guadalajara.
Nice.
We are planning to make it on the Barranca. I don't know how I say that in English. Barranca, where the river goes and you have the not a hill, but it's a kind. I show you a map. Remember that song?
Amphitheater. Yeah.
That yeah,
So that's
that song.
next Canifest Mexico. If we get, when is that scheduled?
We already don't have a date because we are waiting for the rules with the government. So
Yeah.
maybe this new normality change how we need to work in that kind of events because the last year ago with you was 1,500 people in Canafets and EPS, plus the tour from
And
the universities, seven
it was a little,
universities. And we have another 2,000 students in that tour, in the
yeah.
seven. So
Let's talk about that tour. That, that my understanding, it last year you invited me to come to that tour. It was a great honor. I appreciate that. I had a great time, and I was set to give the presentation at the economics school. You're a graduate of the economics school of University of Guadalajara, right?
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
I'm graduate.
And so
I
we
have a
both,
master's degree in tax planning.
mhm. And that's through that school. And so uh, you and I were on a panel with Mike Bafari for the economics of legalization in Mexico.
Yes, yes, yes. We talked about the big potential of Mexico in the industry, in the international industry, But Mexico, it doesn't start it like the industry because we have we don't we the congressman had problems with to understand these concepts, and that's why we are working on cannabis education, because the people in the first contact it's maybe hard for there that don't know what is the cannabis culture, but for us that we are working years can explain it, can uh, uh, grow the seed in the congressmen and the people to get the benefits of these plans, no, in many ways.
Right. So, but that presentation at the University of Guadalajara's economics school was only one of six presentations. There were five other campuses that we also had a presentation on those campuses. Now, you had different speakers for each campus, but the one for the agricultural school, the fellow who was supposed to come from Denver had a medical problem. And
Yes,
so,
Dr. Mike Villa.
yeah, but so you invited Don Wertschafter and I to go and give that presentation.
And it's a different kind of students, Here
Yeah.
on the University of Guadalajara, it's a web of different university centers by topics. So you was in agroecological and biologists and in economics, but there is architecture too that we talked about how to make uh, houses from the hemp.
Yeah. Different.
We have health center for medics, nurses, psychologists, and obviously we talked about endocannabinoid system and chronic pain. and we have choose humanities and the law school. It's in the same center, and we talked about the history of the cannabis. We don't wish after talking about these museums of jars that he collect, and we have two the University Center from Tonala that it's a city in the metropolitan area in Guadalajara that we talking about regulations, how it works. So the people can go to any center, and it
Yeah.
was very, very
Six
funny,
different.
very attractive to the people. Visit all the university centers, and we finished it with Raúl Elizalde, the father of great Elizalde, who opens the law here in Mexico. We finished it in the rectory. It's that the building of the dean here
Yeah,
in the
it was an
University of
incredible
Guadalajara.
architectural
And it's,
palace.
yes, and later we have the Cana Fest in Alcalde Park here in Guadalajara with a big fountain, and well, it was very full of people.
It was a very successful set of events. You got media coverage about CannaFest. The fact that you had these six different events at six different campuses of the University of Guadalajara, that was international news. It made it even on Univision in Los Angeles. You know, they covered that you had these medical, you know, these six different university academic conferences along with this public event. That made you did very well in getting international coverage on that.
Yes, and now this year, well, we have the COVID contingency, but we working on the workshops in a small groups. We did a workshop in March 14, and you came again in March this
Yeah,
year to Guadalajara.
March
We
this year. It
did
was the
in
last trip
a big
lockdown.
complex of the university with
Yeah, the Canna
cannabis. Yeah,
It's not the
Medicannabis.
Medicana,
Yeah,
Medicana, right? The
Medican.
Medicana,
And
and
we
that
have
was
a
the main campus building at the University of Guadalajara, not the antique palace. But people don't understand that the University of Guadalajara has an incredible campus there that's state of the art technology and library and media and film development. And so that's where the Meta Cannabis conference was that I was able to, you guys flew me in to come to. Uh, and that was another great honor. I appreciate that.
that
But
was the first workshop this year. Uh,
yeah,
and in May we
after
did the second
cannabis,
workshops.
we had the motives workshop.
Yeah, the second workshop in a mango trees. How is say a huerta?
Yeah,
Well,
there's a pool there. It's a pool party too.
yeah, different, more ecological because we was our around mango
Yeah.
trees, falling mangoes all time. Was very funny because you need to uh, protect your head because the mango cat hit you. It was a mango cultivation temporary. Sorry.
Yeah.
And now we planned the Jalisco Cup on 14 November because we have a holiday that weekend in Mexico. So people can come to the Jalisco Cup, can maybe they can taste in the different dates. Every day of the kata of testing the samples, every day will be a different
What
uh,
day? What
category.
tasting the samples start? What day does that start?
And Wednesday, it's Wednesday 10 or 11.
Yeah,
We
the 11th.
started the Tuesday. Yeah, you arrive on Tuesday at night, so we are started to work at Wednesday early morning, Paul. I don't know how you
We
will make
actually
it.
arrive at about 3 p.m. in the afternoon, so it's not too late. But we start here. We leave at like 5 a.m.
Yes,
So
and every venue had a mystical, uh, different uh, essence because
yeah,
maybe we'll be in the archaeologic area, sorry, or in the downtown of Guadalajara, or in another magic town, and the people they will be in caravana, car by car, uh,
yeah,
travel, traveling safe because we are a
yeah.
collective. We,
Hey,
we
you said you're going to rent me a car. That's great. We're going to have to get a little van.
Yes,
Thank
you will have a van. Well, it I don't know what's the model, but it's for 7 people.
Great.
So you will have your time. Every people have their plans, their time. If they just want to make a stop, they can do. But we are still in contact by phone with all the people because we want to uh, take care of the people and have a safe event. We are a community from 10 years uh, of
Yeah.
of
So tell us
experience.
about the Meta. You have another event that we haven't talked to, the Meta Canapcos that you do with. I know I introduced you to
Canamédicos.
Knox, Dr. Rachel, Janice, and David Knox, and they came and presented at your medical conference. Tell our audience about that. For
Yes, Canamédicos, it's a conference for health professionals, medics, nurses, homeopathics, any health professional. So we worked the year 2019 with the Guadalajara Chambers of Commerce. It's a very big complex for entrepreneurs, two entrepreneurs, and we have the health professional talks. And well, it was very different because it's a different public. The medics, the nurses are more formals. We need to be very formal with their.
yeah,
So we bring Dr. David Knotts and Rachel Knotts, but this year we can have Canamedics, Canamedicos, because our doctors are working versus the COVID in our public hospitals. So they just can do video calls. So we did video calls with their on the contingency the first day to talk about COVID and hypertension, heart problems, COVID and diabetes, and COVID and cannabis with professional doctors. So you can see it if you can understand, or I don't know if it can subtitles. You can see it on Facebook, uh, diagonal dash Canamedicos, Canamedicos, Canamedicos. It sounds like Canamedics, but it's O is Canamedicos.
Spanish Indie there. Very similar though. You're right to English, the cat English word, but you guys have so many different events across such a breadth of culture there. One thing that our audience might not know is that there are pyramids and archaeological sites all over Mexico that are 2,000 years old, and one of we're also going to be, and there's the biggest lake in Mexico, Lake Chapala, is there, very close to Guadalajara, and it has a hot springs that you took me to. That's
Yes.
pretty incredible. Uh, and the town of Tequila is there, and Jalisco is famous for agave and the production of tequila and mezcal,
The
right?
best quality of tequila because Jalisco have the origin denomination of tequila. So
The town tequila.
outside these areas are not tequila. It's It's similar to the champagne and the brandy and cognac or denominations. And the slogan of the local government is Jalisco is Mexico, because Jalisco have the tequila, the mariachi music, and beautiful uh, woman. Sorry, I'm saying in the uh, best way, but well, all the people from Mexico says in Guadalajara there are very
It's
beautiful
iconic for
women.
for for Mexico culture.
Yeah, and I have a comparisons. If you don't know Guadalajara, I compared it with Montreal, that it's the cultural city of Canada, or Medellin. It's similar to Medellin too much. It's not the capital. It's a big city, but it's very cultural.
The
So you
second,
can find a public activities in each place. So it's a very familiar city, Guadalajara.
there's actually a direct flight from here in Oregon to Guadalajara with a Mexican airline. I think it's Volare, or it might be Interjet. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, that's the small, the cheap one. Sorry,
Yeah.
but but well, we are trying
But it's a direct
to.
flight. You don't have to.
Yes. For the people that come, if comes from another country, we have plans to rent uh, comfortable rooms for there in any date of the tasting of the samples or in the coop. Remember, this coop will be in different places each day.
That's exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. And I know LB Masika is as well. And for our audience who doesn't know, LB Masika is one of two people who get legal medical marijuana from the federal government, from the federal Mississippi uh, marijuana farm that produces research cannabis. So LV has been receiving a tin full of 300 joints, 300 pre-rolled cigarettes a month, 10 cigarettes a day since 1988 from the federal government. When she first went on that program, there were 17 people on the program and 100 people in the waiting list. In 1991, George Bush the first ended the program. So all the 100 people on the waiting list never got on. It was just 17 people, and Elvie is one of two people. Another guy in Florida named Irv Rosenfeld is the other remaining patient on this. They're grandfathered in so that they get these special tins. But the cannabis, to me, tastes like the Mexican cannabis that we got back in the 1960s and 70s. It's a sativa, small flowers, lots of, they roll it into cigarettes that don't
The
have.
Mexican sativas,
Yeah,
the
it tastes
famous
like,
Mexican sativas. Yes.
it's probably 2 to 3% THC. It's not very good, really, from the federal government. But she gets this. So I'm pretty excited. Like I said, I traveled with LV across Colombia twice, but I never flew with her. I never flew from one place to another with her before. So on this
Okay.
trip, LV and my wife are going to be flying on the same flight, and she can legally carry medical marijuana. So I'm pretty
Yes.
excited to see. I hope I can get her to bring one of her tins of 300 joints to
And
show there.
you know why Albi can fly to Mexico with their joints uh, by
Because she
the
never really
US
has a prescription
authorities?
from the doctor.
Yes,
She's one
because it's a prescription from the
of
doctor from another place and have the federal government. Uh,
yeah. They
yes.
accepted it in Finland,
So
in Norway, and the Netherlands,
yeah.
in
We-
Colombia, of course. They
yes,
accepted medical
and
recommendation.
that just we need to inform the coffee priest that it's like the FDA from Mexico.
Yeah,
That
they're
yes,
custom people at
that
the game. That
I
someone,
I U.S. citizen that have approved by the federal government. I just want to bring my medicine. Also,
yeah,
so
they'll have to
will be safe here with us with their medicine. But that's more important for us because we will import legal weed from Mexico. Well, LB will import for herself.
it'll be an
But
interesting news story too. I think we should
yeah,
have a press conference.
but that will be a big news because
Yeah,
how wheat that growing for Mexican seeds
let's have a press conference.
in the United States
On
will
TV.
will
Let's have a press
return legal to Mexico, and we can grow legal by law. But yes, we can grow legal by our law systems have the amparo that is from the juridic from the law of Mexico. This amparo is the law protect you from
Yeah,
the law when it's too much
resident.
for one people.
Yeah.
So we just make a judge, and any people with residence can make that solicitude to the court. So now the courts in all Mexico have the indications to bring to the people to order the coffee priest, the FDA from Mexico, to bring the people the license to grow in home. So it's not in the law, but it's by the court. So any people that want it can make it, and the courts are obligated to give it.
Well, I am very excited to come there with Elvie Masica and see how this works as she goes to the airport with her legal marijuana. Because she's one of only two people who can carry it in the airports in the United States legally. I always have it, but that's another story. But and I've talked about that here on this show in the past. But I want to also talk about some other events that you guys do. You have and Cecilia Ortez. She has a
Uh,
radio show, a podcast you guys do.
yes.
Tell us about that.
Cecilia, she's my partner,
And
our producer.
you guys have a
Yeah,
women's group, Cannabis
yeah,
Actors.
yes. She did a women's group event 15 years ago. We had more than 50 women in this encounter of cannabis women. And Cecilia works too with 420 Guadalajara Radio. So you can see it, the episodes of 420 Guadalajara Radio in Spotify, in Facebook, 420 Guadalajara, 420 Guadalajara, 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 420 Guadalajara. And in the section videos, you can see what is this podcast because, well, we started in a radio, in a private radio, uh,
It was
sorry.
a lot of fun when
And
I was
now,
on there.
and now with the COVID, we emigrate to the video calls like
Like
this
this.
time. But well, the spirit of the cannabis is to share the experience
Mhm.
here with the in the interviews. So we are just waiting uh, to have calm with these times in the COVID in Mexico. Now the federal government is saying it's going down the numbers, but we need to be safe. We have the social distance, activities. and we will work that in the Jalisco Cup. It will be hard because each judge will be have the sample for their self. We no more. You can share your joint in the cup. Sorry, Paul. It's used
Well,
for you.
me, I got my volcano. And so I have my volcano bag here to demonstrate. Imagine that. And I just pop off this thing and give each person their own little mouthpiece.
Yes,
Then you can share, but you don't share your mouthpiece.
yes. And the other member of 420 Guadalajara Collective, it's McCoy. McCoy will be working with the growers in this part of the samples coordination.
So
And
last March, after the Meta Cannabis conference at the University of Guadalajara's main campus, you had a growers conference that I participated in. I did a few presentations. The one I was publicized was on harvesting and curing cannabis. I think people learned from that, and McCoy did another one on growing. I did another one just because someone didn't show up on indoor cultivation as well. So McCoy is pretty famous across Latin America and the world as for cannabis cultivation.
yes, yes, yes. Well, uh, we have a time in this, and we know a lot of growers, very good growers, that want to know the opinion of another professional from the cannabis uh, community. So we will have a chromatography. I don't know how to say capa fina, but
No, that's
it's with chemistry and colors. So we will seek for metals, pesticides, the ratio of THC, and I don't know if we can do the ratio of CBD because, well, the reactives are have a cost and it's not easy for us uh, pay dollars now because it's very hard. But we are working on that, and
okay.
that's
So
the test of the chromatography.
so that's
And the other test is the opinion of the judge. The people want to know what is the opinion of a professional in the cannabis industry. So that's why it's very important your participation and LB participation. And I want to talk about the other youth, the Mexican youth. One is Germen Verde, uh, also known as Baza.
yeah,
Baza is, well, from Frontoni, Guadalajara. He started 5 years ago. He goes to Denver and he was judge of the Dub Cube in Denver, Colorado. Well, or auxiliary of youth for Max Monroe's with this sommelier from Denver. Another judge is Eduardo Zafra from Trajinera Canábica, a famous event in Mexico City in Xochimilco. It's
yeah.
another judge, and he's an anthropologist. He documented from 20 years ago the
Really?
history of the cannabis
I
community.
did not know that. I've met Zafra. I've been to the event in Xochimilco. It's fantastic on the ancient Aztec canals of Mexico City, where the people in Mexico have been going for hundreds of years to celebrate on boats on those canals. And so I did not know he was an anthropologist. So that's fascinating.
Yes, yes, yes. He works on harm reduction in Tijuana with the people who horrible, but he changed the story. I think
So
he
okay.
changed for a clean one from
Oh,
the injection.
syringe,
Yes, sorry.
syringe, syringe exchange.
And another judge, it's Eric from Michoacan. He is the founder of the Mexican Cannabis Open. It sounds like tennis. Mexican Cannabis Open, that it's a kind of cup in Michoacan. And another judge is, well, the female judge. One is Albi, but the female Mexican girls, because we have a very big movement in Mexico about feminists. So the female judge are Rita Tricoma, very famous, and well, it's like a, the a wolf, because she's alone all the time, but he have very too much experience working, growing for patients,
Oh,
growing,
great.
yes, teachings how to make the medicine. Another judge is Mel Alvarez. Mel is the mother of Diego. Diego is using medical cannabis, and she is a very good grower, like Rita Tricoma. And well, Mel talks about mother plants, about clones, that part of the
Yeah.
industry. Another
Yeah.
judge is Nancy Canavito. He's a famous reposter. She makes cakes, special cakes,
Yeah.
and have a lot of time working with that. So we will have the category of edibles in the Jalisco Cup. So I don't know
Watch
how you will
vitality.
make it, because we have cannabis, we have candies, we have gummies that
That's sugar.
I don't know how you will do
Sugar
it.
is a dangerous, addictive drug. You know,
Yes, sorry.
you got to make some without sugar.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And
That
another female judge is Edith from Veneno de Ardilla. Edith
very
have
often.
a lot of experience growing and making the extractions, and now she have she's own line of edibles,
All right.
Veneno de Ardilla. So we
Sounds like
have
you have a very reputable.
the females and the males huge. We try to have equity. Sorry,
Balance.
a balance and a quality agenda, you
Yeah,
know, because
that's
we want to to have professionals in Mexico.
but I want to say again that just tell our audience how to find out about the Jalisco Cannabis Cup. It's I know you've got a Facebook group.
Yes, it's Jalisco Canna Cup, sorry.
Yeah,
So you can spell it, Paul, for your audience. How is
sure,
Jalisco
sure.
Canna Cup?
You know, if you just the name is actually Jalisco Cannabis Cup, but the URL is Jalisco Canna Cup. So that's JaliscoCannaCup.
Audience. Thank you to all.
Thank you too, and help us restore him. Good night.
420.
All right.